Welcome to Lone Crow Adventures, the channel that's about all things camping, hiking, and backpacking. If it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button. There's a ton of great content on this channel I know you'll enjoy. Today we're going to be evaluating and testing the American-made Iridium Stove. Let's go. Just a brief introduction to this stove. This stove is an American-made stove by a company called Nuclear Outdoor Products, and it is the Iridium Stove. Check it out. Pretty cool. This stove is marketed as a lightweight backpacking stove, and it's marketed as a super rugged stove, which can be used as an alternative to stoves that require canister fuel. So today we're going to be putting this thing to the test. We're going to be using it with the charcoal burners, the alcohol stove component, and we're going to be cooking with it in the fire to see what method works the best and to see how this thing really stacks up against the competition. Now, Nuclear Outdoor Products did send me this stove hoping that I would review it on the channel, and I promised the manufacturer that I would provide a completely unbiased and honest opinion about the stove. So let's get this bad boy fired up and see what it's all about. The stove comes with everything you see here. It is a single unit that is made out of billet aluminum. So it's lightweight. The weight on this stove comes in at 7 ounces. The Iridium stove features a 6-inch long, 1/2-inch diameter stem, so it can easily be pushed into the ground. The cook surface on the stove is 3 by 3 inches, so it definitely will accommodate a larger pot or a larger pan. It's really easy to get set up. You just push it down into the ground, and it offers a good amount of stability. Now, there are no moving parts with this stove because of the TIG welding, so it definitely is going to hold up to a lot of abuse. There's 3 different ways you can use this stove, as we talked about before, with a charcoal starter, with an alcohol insert, and you can put this directly over the coals in your fire to use it as a cooktop. So the first way that I'm going to show you is with the charcoal starter. We have the charcoal starter inside of the stove, and we timed this earlier, and the total burn time on a single cube is 15 minutes, 15 seconds. So it gives you lots of time to boil water, reheat meals, fry up some eggs, and do whatever else that you need to do. Now you can see it gives off a nice big flame. One of the downsides of this stove is that the flame is not adjustable. So you can't turn the heat either up or down, so you get a constant, continuous heat source. I've got about 1.5 cups of water in there, and we're going to boil that and make some cocoa. So the cube has completely burnt itself off. The water is at a sub-boil, so it's been on there for 15 minutes, and we haven't gotten a full roaring boil yet. It's warm enough to make cocoa, but if you were going to want to boil water, you definitely would need to use 2 cubes to boil the water. It doesn't boil water as efficiently as I would like to see. I hear a boil. I hear bubbling. Okay, so we're at 20 minutes and 10 seconds when I first started to hear that. Are you able to hear it? The lid's jiggling. Oh, it's boiling. It is boiling. Okay, so this stove will boil water. It takes 20 minutes to boil water. See, it's jiggling. You're ready to have some cocoa. Oh, we've got bubbles. So 20 minutes to boil water. Water can be boiled, and that's using 2 cubes. So we've got a nice little flame going. We're going to put our saucisse on the top, and we'll see how these bad boys cook up. The stove has air vents at the bottom to allow the air to come through, so it's not going to snuff it out. All right, so we're halfway through the cook cycle on one of these cubes. Oh, look at that. It's cooking up really nice. Let's give these sausages a flip. Flame's still going. A lot of life left in that still. All right, cover her back up. Oh, you can hear those sausages cooking now. Oh, getting browned up nice. A few more minutes and these puppies will be done. They still have a lot of flame. Now it's time for some eggs. It's chow time. We had a small weather delay with our breakfast, but the stove kept cooking right through that little thunderstorm that rolled through. So we've got some delicious sausage and eggs for breakfast. Stove really performed well. There were some pretty windy conditions and it really held up to that. It took a little bit longer. It took 3 total cubes to make the breakfast that you see here, which is 2 sausage patties and 2 eggs for 2 people. But I think given the conditions, especially considering the fact that rain broke out, I think it performed great. Now we're going to test out the alcohol insert. So when Nuclear Outdoor Products sent this, they sent this small little cup, looks like a condiment cup, to go inside of the stove. It fits in there like so. And you can use denatured alcohol if you'd like to. I'm using a 91% rubbing alcohol. All right, so we'll pop that on there and we'll start a timer and we'll see where we get. So we have the alcohol insert running the stove and I've been waiting 20 minutes to get this water boiling. It is steaming. It will eventually boil. The problem is that I have a thunderstorm on my tail, and when I looked at the radar it said it was about 25 minutes away, so I thought for sure I should be able to make a second cup of cocoa before this storm hits. So I'm not really okay with a stove where the cook time is so long that I'm gonna get caught in weather conditions. Sometimes when you're in the backcountry, you only have small windows in which you can actually cook a meal if you're gonna have a day with scattered thunder showers where they're rolling in and rolling out constantly. So that's a big failure on part of the stove, I think. When I cooked breakfast with it this morning, it worked great for cooking up the sausage and cooking up the eggs, and I used the charcoal starter inserts for that, and it cooks food really, really well. I was really impressed with it that way, but it just doesn't have enough oomph to get the water boiled quick enough to do the job that I need it to do. So for that, it loses big time points with me in terms of the water boiling. It's not the stove that I would choose to bring with me into the backcountry. Now we're going to test out the alcohol function of the stove with the denatured alcohol. Last time I used this, I used just a isoporic alcohol. So this time we're going to use a denatured alcohol. And now this type of alcohol here, it burns, the flame is totally clear. You will not be able to see the flame, but you can feel the heat. It's been almost 29 minutes. I'm pretty sure that the alcohol has actually burned itself completely off. Yep, bone dry. You can see bone dry. All the alcohol in here burnt itself off. This is about a cup and a half of water in this pot. So this stove, 100% total failure as an alcohol stove. Cannot boil water using it as an alcohol stove. I'm not going to put an insert on, boil it, put the pot on, and then come back 20-25 minutes later and put more alcohol in it and light it again. That's just stupid. I would not use this as an alcohol stove, but I'm not a big fan of alcohol stoves as a general rule, so that's not a huge concern. Alcohol stoves are known to be poor at boiling water, but just doesn't work great as an alcohol stove. The next thing that I'm going to be showing you is how to use the Iridium stove as a cook base inside of your campfire. And I believe this is where this stove is really going to shine. I feel it has the largest potential as a portable cooktop rather than being used as a stove. So we're going to get a little baby fire going. We're going to put a pot of water on there and we're going to time it using this method. I bet we're going to get the best results. So we have the pot on the Iridium stove. There's a very small little coal base around it, and we're going to see how long it takes to boil a pot of water when we're using it as a portable cooktop in a small campfire. All right, we've got a pot jiggle. We have water boiling as a cooktop, 4.5 minutes. Let's talk about the Iridium stove. What a disappointment. When I first was approached by Nuclear Outdoor Products to review this stove, I was super excited. I thought the design was really unique. I thought it was something different. I thought it was really gonna be an earth-shattering experience. What a letdown. I can honestly say after bringing this stove with me on trips 2 weeks in a row, I will never use the stove again. It's just a little finicky. It takes a long time to get anything done with it, and it stinks. I mean, the stove actually stinks. Those cubes that you put in there when I'm cooking my breakfast, which is one of the things that the stove actually does well, the cubes just give off this really gross smell. And the alcohol as well, when the alcohol stove is burning, it also gives off kind of a gross smell. So I wasn't really wild about that. But it's just too much room for error with this stove. It's definitely not a stove that I would trust in a backcountry. If I was going to use this stove again, it would be as a cooktop in a small baby campfire, probably while car camping, because when I'm backpacking, I bring meals, I need to rehydrate those meals, so I need to boil the water quickly and rehydrate them and get back on the trail. If I'm car camping and I want to do eggs and sausage or something like that, this would work all right for that. Or if I wanted to use it for a cooktop on a car camping site where I didn't have a grill, I could see a utility for that. But outside of that, this stove was actually a really big disappointment. My big hang up with this stove is that when you're in the backcountry, if your water filter fails, you need to be able to boil water, or else you are putting yourself at risk by potentially introducing parasites and bacteria into your body. I'm not comfortable going into the backcountry with a stove where I don't know if I can get my water to come to that rapid roaring boil for 3 minutes in order to be able to kill the parasites and bacteria inside of the water. So if I had to rate the Nuclear Outdoor Products Iridium stove on a 5-point scale, it saddens me to have to rate this stove with a 1 out of 5 crow rating. I was really excited about this stove, and even when I first got it, I was just excited to come out and use it. I thought it was a great design, and I'm really disappointed that it didn't perform the way that I wanted it to. So it saddens me to give it that rating. There are just too many cons with this stove. There is too much finickiness. It takes too long, and it's just not reliable enough for me. So I personally do not see myself using this stove again in the future in any capacity. And I'm rating this stove from the perspective of, if I was a backpacker and I went out and I spent $47 of my own money on this stove, how would I rate this stove? And if I would have purchased this stove, I would be sending it back because it does not work for the purposes that I need it to. So unfortunately, this product gets a 1 out of 5 crow rating. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you learned something new. Now is the time, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. And while you're here, you may as well check out a few of my other videos. Until next time, folks, we'll see you on the trails.